ArtBreak. This is a change, so I appreciate you all rolling with us and being here on a Wednesday. So we are excited today to welcome visual artist Mary Hatch and poet Elizabeth Kerlikowske to share their collaborative work. If you yourself are interested in exploring the process of responding to visual art through poetry, just another plug for a poetry workshop that we have coming up on January 30th. This is the workshop that we have had to reschedule a couple of times due to weather and other issues. So we are really hoping that the third time is going to be the charm. So this is on January 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. and it's a poetry workshop led by Denise Miller. And that is going to be a free event and you can register on our website. Seats are limited, so we do ask that you pre-register if you can. All right. Now I am pleased to introduce Mary Hatch and Elizabeth Kerlikowske. Mary is a painter and printmaker who works with the human figure. She was educated at Kingswood School Cranbrook, Skidmore College, and Western Michigan University. Her work has been exhibited widely throughout the U.S., Canada, and Europe, and is included in numerous private and public collections. Poet Elizabeth Kerlikowske received the Community Medal for the Arts in 2017. She's the author of numerous books and chapbooks and is the past president of Friends of Poetry and the Poetry Society of Michigan. Mary and Elizabeth have recently published their third co-authored book, Falling Women, and we have a copy that you can peruse thanks to provided by our library, as well as a copy of one of their earlier volumes as well. So I will leave these on the back table for you all to peruse. We also have copies of Falling Women for sale in our gallery shop. So I encourage you to pick up a copy after the talk today. Also, just a technical note for those of you who are joining us virtually. Unfortunately, we are having some issues with our camera and the auditorium here today, so you won't be able to see us here at the podium, but you will be able to see Mary's beautiful artworks on the screen as we go through. Right? So now please join me in welcoming Mary and Elizabeth.
Let me get my stuff. Thanks to the KIA for having us here on this wintry day. In school, we learn to appreciate art and look at it in terms of this, that, and other elements of the work. We can talk about design, use of space, images, and the artist's intent, which we can sometimes figure out and other times not so much. With ekphrastic responses to art, none of that matters. The ekphrastic writer or artist responds only to the image and what resonates for them. So today you will see what Mary intended as the sender is not necessarily what I received as the writer. But I for sure received something, and this little book is proof of that. Our process is that Mary sends me untitled paintings. It is super important that they be untitled because the title tells me what she might intend. I don't want to know, although I'm very interested afterward. Where did I go? Okay. I was very lucky in that I was raised with a lot of opportunities for boredom, during which time I entertained myself by making up stories. Who knew this would turn into a lifetime of lying? I'm going to read my pieces first, then Mary's going to tell you about it from her point of view. We'll see where there are connections, there may be bickering. If you have a question, please ask it before we move on, and a special hi to my friends at Gateway Academy. Okay, our first piece is, oops.
We need to get the
Oh, let me try the, no. There. I call this, let me find it. This is giving you plenty of time to look at it. Their first meeting. They passed each other in the hallway. He said, "I have compressed myself and promises into sequins, glitter, and nonpareils. I cast them in your direction. She said, I had distilled my hopes and expectations into cosmic dust and dogwood petals. Here, I let them slip from my fingers. All of the potential and none of the responsibility, he thought. All the options and none of the disappointment, she thought. They danced. Now Mary will tell you what it really is.
First, thank you everybody for coming out. I'm amazed. This is a really good crowd for this weather. Second, I should say, I love Elizabeth's poetry. She writes like I make paintings, a moment of inspiration, and then it takes on a life of its own. I think that art opens a door in the viewer's mind, like listening to music without lyrics. It really doesn't matter what the artist was thinking, because there is a kind of pure connection just below our level of consciousness. A reviewer once said that my iconography is sufficiently dense to prohibit a total reading, and I agree. I don't fully understand what I'm trying to say either, but having said that, I will try to provide at least some clues. This painting is titled The Last Bouquet, and it was painted in 2014, and is 18 by 24 inches. Late again, and he isn't even dressed, at least not in his best. And where is his boutonniere? So careless to lose that already, like losing your ticket when you've already paid your fee. Everyone knows that this is a two-bouquet party, but her wedding dress is unintentionally pulling her forward, away from his floating bouquet, so nonchalantly tossed. His attention instead is focused on the growing shadow beside him. While she reaches unsuccessfully for the flowers that only he can deliver, she even misses the last two stray blossoms. And he continues to disappear into the darkness where no flowers grow, losing his last attempt to arrive with her and both bouquets as the invitation requested. So changing her dress, she'll explain that one bouquet must be enough, for the light keeps pulling her forward and she wishes to be asked again.
I just think what's interesting about this is I think it's their first meeting. It's clear. I think it's their first meeting and they're flirting with each other and it's the end. So whatever. Okay, and let's do the next. Let me do this. Okay, great. It's so exciting when technology works. This is called Venn diagram, which is one of the few math concepts I retained. The truth has blown the sisters' pink jacket off. For the first time, they are able to see the areas of their expertise in graph form. Mostly separate, but sometimes they connect as in a Venn diagram. Some justice has piled blue mattresses on the horizon, which is about to cry. This storm will be called legendary, will be called reckoning for the pink transistor radio and so much more. By thunder count, the storm is 5 miles away. Enough time to settle things or finally turn away. In the open is not the best place to be. They agree on that. But in 3 miles, the sisters hold on to each other to form a bigger, heavier them against the gale. That's how the storm ends. It looks worse than it was. No damage, no destruction, if you don't count the jacket.
This painting is titled Her Next Move and was painted in 2012 and is 24 by 32 inches. Inside a map with an arrow pointing east and the wind blowing both ways, the girls are dazed. Everything is falling apart, and their guidelines are breaking to pieces. Clasping her hands anxiously, one turns to the other with a questioning glance. "Have you seen Alice?" she asks. "No, but my jacket, my only defense, has just blown away, and there's a storm approaching." Stranded as they are on a bridge until their friend appears with the rabbit, they are unable to decide what to do, waiting for their adventure to begin. They have become the question in Anton Chekhov's quote, "The role of the artist is to ask questions, not answer them."
Gary, I have a question real quick?
Ask it.
Different shoes on the girl and boy. Is there a purpose or?
Oh. Well, I don't know. I do that quite often. I'm not sure why. I don't remember at this point. It may be just the colors look better. I'm not sure.
I've never seen it this big, and
I hadn't noticed
arrow.
that myself.
What is this arrow up here? I missed that.
I don't know.
Okay,
It's just part of, this is kind of like a map.
that's what it
And
seems
what
like.
the arrow is pointing to, I'm not sure.
Okay, then, I'm glad I left it alone. God's mustache fell from a great height with clouds still on it. God was just lucky the man was there to catch it. Or was it luck? The man carried the mustache under his arms, and it looked like water wings or swan wings. It was stiffer than you might expect and smelled of oatmeal and yesterday's cigarettes. That's what the ballerina thought as the prop man carried the mustache across the stage. That's how her tulle hat got caught in it. And then the lighting guy laid a dinosaur on the floor whose foot began where the point of her toe shoe ended. The man had too much to shepherd down. God's mustache, the ballerina, and dragging the dinosaur who wanted to head in the other direction. This must be why the man wears roller skates, even though they're in a pasture. But it's just a stage set, he remembers. The ballerina abandons her hat to God's mustache. The dinosaur light dims. The mustache is impossibly heavy, and the man buckles under its weight. Monday, the mustache is gone, but the man's remains remain.
The title of this is Bird Bride and was painted in 2001 and is 22 by 28 inches. Encircled by her gown, he glides along the beach, necessary because toe shoes are sadly unprepared for the resistance of sand, not to mention the difficulty of that extended arm, so perfect and graceful, and that raised foot held just so. She has enclosed him with her beauty and charm, but more than this, her perfect dance that washes away all barriers and leads to freedom. Soon he'll see her pilot's cap with mufflers and visor as her veil turns gracefully into a wing. While leaning slightly toward the air, she waits for him. He still insists on roller skates to help in landing in case they ever do escape the ground. All depends on her dance and toes of steel and his unfailing belief in her enchanting powers.
This poem is an abecedarian poem, which means every line starts with the next letter of the alphabet. And it was kind of a miracle at the end. I'll explain later. This is called The Docent, so it's perfect for here. About the landscape behind me, I mean, the peaceful composition of my body against the bucolic scene, diagonals of the tiled floor, elegant, me framed before chaos and disharmony, I mean nature. Green umbrella keeps my thoughts separate from ham-fisted slabs of land crowded in the background, like nature's junk-piled coat closet attic. I can't know this haphazard landscape. It jilts me in my brain, making order and husbandry obsolete, not gone, but is this Italy or Eastern Oregon? Full of cash crops and poplars standing up to the winds? Questions? Yes. Reasons for the disorganization of soils starts with a meandering river, turning fields into islands. Until the umbrella, I could not collect my thoughts. Very few remained unaffected by the chaos of nature. Why do I continue to work here? Xeriscaping fascinates me. I realize I haven't yet mentioned it. I just learned today it doesn't start with Z. I was so happy when I got to the end and I looked up Xeriscape and saw that it started with an X. Elation.
The title of this painting is Asleep She Dreams and was painted in 2019 and is 36 by 40 inches. She falls asleep dreaming of Italy, beautiful, exquisite Italy, selected by geography and giving birth to the Renaissance and a past all but forgotten, the Roman Empire. The tiled floors place her in a museum where artists go to worship the glorious, unachievable past. In her white communion dress, she holds an umbrella to protect her from this ancient history, so solidly embedded in her mind. But the visual world refuses to be erased, unlike the empire, which only lasted 1,000 years, and teaches us not to learn from its mistakes. Unchanging and enticing, the pictures left behind can only tell the truth and remind us of our imperfect and perfect humanity, that such beauty does exist.
I just like the idea of having a docent who is completely wrapped up in herself. Oh, Mary doesn't like this painting, but I asked her to put it in because I had such a good story to go with it. Because in my previous life, I was an academic. And if you've ever gone to an academic presentation at a conference, they can be really boring. So I was at one, and two people hated each other who were presenting on the same panel. When the woman stood up to present, the guy sat kind of behind her and clipped his fingernails. And they just shut, oh, that's not the bad part. So when he got up to speak, she sat behind him and picked her nose in the most elaborate way I have ever seen in my life. And in that way, they showed how they hated each other. Session 2, lean into it. The Americana chickens sense the egg gleam in the late morning sun, or in a trick of refraction, saw it in a vision from slightly less than a mile away. Such a large egg. All of the hens wanted a chance to hatch it. It might be a New Jersey giant. They raced across the soybean fields, shedding feathers like cottonwood out of season, intent on the egg head explaining property law to bored taxpayers. When the audience perked up, the man thought he'd landed a few points, but the crowd was anticipating what he couldn't see. The first hen coming in for a landing, talents out to grasp the fringe of red hair. Yes, we were finally transfixed.
The title of this painting is Kafka's World and was painted in 1984 and is 20 by 16 inches. Seated in a matching chair, he questions the arrow pointing to the right, inviting him to explore the world viewed only through windows in this backyard facade, a veneer concealing a real-world landscape, treacherously ending with a view of the sky. With his bird-like hands clasped patiently in his lap, he anxiously awaits the birds, his symbol of freedom, his friends, providing the courage he lacks to follow the tiny arrow around his pretend sanctuary. For in reality, his life depends on him alone, and the awaiting sky must at least be explored and a battle plan advanced. To shy away from that is to miss the challenge of everyday life, so often difficult but equally rewarding.
Why do you put this on your refrigerator when everything goes wrong?
Yes, I did. But then things kept going wrong, so I decided to give up.
The disappearing world. I've decided in this picture that a bomb has just gone off in the background. Their backs are turned in the disappearing world. Do they even know? Their faces run the gamut of expressions. Might just be sunny, yellow blinding their building. Photojournalists lurk everywhere, even at the last moment. Elderly couple in back, closest to the windows. Where's the pain they can't yet be seen? The bald man is not running, pushed by the force of the blast. These are the realists. The smiling nun just likes having her picture taken. This is what her whole life has waited for. Seated at the small table, the CEO of the universe gestures with his Kevlar gloves for everyone to relax. Cats and the ashes of cats hunt for any sort of future on the dropped ceiling. Some will survive. It has always been like that. Their final thoughts: I'm beautiful. Where's my toupee? I hate my son. Let me explain. Come on and take a load off.
The title of this painting is Party Pictures and was painted in 1984 and is 24 by 30 inches. The party guests from left to right are a nun, a businessman, an old lady, a politician, and a con man who's waiting for his lunch. And the nun, of course, with a waitress apron, should be serving him, but she knows his real problem is with her and her centuries-old story lacking proof. It's no better than his, he thinks. While the cats, worshipped once by Egypt, scamper away, their gods long ago discharged, except for one, a favorite of the nun. Meanwhile, the old lady's Victorian house, owner of the past, is viewed through windows behind the guests. While she smiles knowingly at this ancient debate, never solved but traditionally raised again and again, as she holds tightly to her purse, lest the politician forgets his speech and asks for more than prayer. The businessman, the daddy of them all, can't wait to leave, reveling in his skills to earn the much-loved, hated, almighty dollar. He returns to work to earn the money that pays the bills for parties such as these. He cares not at all for these philosophical debates. A great party. We're all invited to this American dream where all are truly equal to be themselves.
Those kind of fit together in a creepy way. Is this a cat's tail?
Cat tail.
Okay. Oh, can we skip this one? Do you mind if we skip that one? I mean, if you need to do it, we can.
Well, why don't I just do my part?
Okay, fine.
Okay.
I don't like what I wrote.
This painting is titled Chair Dancing and was painted in 2009 and is 36 by 40 inches. The floor easily becomes a game board, however encumbered by its inadequate seating and confused participants, as each figure faces in a different direction. She appears to be completely disinterested, seated on a table, covered in matching cloth, along with the only chair available to her, and her shadow resonating largely on the wall, while her partner in white rushes away from his teeny tiny chair. Giving up too easily for the task ahead is not to be tolerated by the central figure, who is not discouraged by these difficulties and is anxious to continue playing the game, so he begins to dance with his chair, while the artist mannequin follows suit. No escape is necessary, it seems, despite the availability of the tiny green horse and a car. Life, as we know, often goes astray, and we have to learn to dance to a new tune, even if it means dancing with a chair.
Let me ask about this. Is that the lining of his coat, the red up there?
Yes, I guess it is. Probably I needed red in that order.
I like it if, like, in poetry, you could just say, you know, I need the word apothecary in this poem. I'll just put it over here. Okay, next. The title poem. A lot of writers, like young writers, will start out and say, this really happened.
Wait, one wrong picture.
That's what I thought too. See, this is not, it should be something else. What comes after this?
The reluctant gunfighter.
Yeah, where is the reluctant gunfighter?
I don't know.
That's it. There's no reluctant gunfighter.
Oh dear.
Darn it. Oh well.
We could skip that one.
Okay. That's fair. We skipped. Okay, we're good.
All
So
right.
we'll do this one.
Okay.
Okay, this is called Blue Diamond. And as I was saying, young writers will frequently read a poem and say, this really happened. Like that makes it extra good. But this really happened. Blue Diamond. Born uniform in the factory, the tiny sticks are dried, then dipped in paraffin to give the fire fuel once phosphorus and potassium chlorate collide when a match is struck. Strike anywhere. Inside the Blue Diamond box, the matches form a community. Sometimes they live together for decades in a living room until someone throws the box at a campaign ad on TV. And the matchbox becomes a little bomb. Friction, or did one match grow arms and discover by vigorously signaling, touchdown, safe, she could catch her hair on fire, and then her box of friends. It could only happen once. This is that moment. I did. I took a box of matches and fired it at the TV, and that thing just went, it was great. Try it.
The title of this painting is Falling Woman, and it was painted in 1981 and is 36 by 40 inches. When I looked at a picture of this painting I made so long ago, I was again reminded of Chekhov's famous quote, "The role of the artist is to ask questions, not answer them." And I would add that this also applies to the artist attempting to unlock the secrets of their work. My first thoughts were, where did she come from and where is she going? Well, I haven't provided much evidence to solve that mystery because she seems to only exist in empty space, likely to be the sky, which we normally assume is blue. And why is she falling? Or has her other self, partially unseen, managed to stop her descent with that extra set of arms? She does appear to be two people in one. I don't know why, but we've all been there with our conflicting dreams and ideas. With her eyes closed and a leave me alone expression on her face, her arms are outstretched to enjoy this pleasant sense of falling gently through the air, only to be interrupted by self number two, who attempts to cradle her and fix her up as she fusses with her collar in order to create a good impression. Well, we all know the end result. The ground is always there, so she'll land softly and real life begins.
Star, square, wavy line. I like old-fashioned words, so the word cad is in here. The cad always brings a Zehner deck to parties. It's his gambit for meeting women, testing their powers of ESP. He sits between them, clearly more interested in the receiver than the transmitter with her back to him. She is rapt, transmitting the symbols star, square, wavy line. He chats up the receiver, then backs off to let her access the transmission. She receives the transmission. This guy's a dick. He hit on me before like this and doesn't remember star, square, wavy line. The experimenter leans forward to hear the results. Star, square, wavy line. Lech! The women slam their cards down on the table and head for the open bar. The experiment a complete success.
The card game, painted in 2023, is 24 by 36 inches. Their room sits high up in some European country where red roofs are common and beautiful, and brings to mind the renaissance of art history days, the rebirth of history's wisdom, which now seems absent from our little gathering. Little because most of the guests have left, with the exception of the sorry man in gray, who arrived late and now must listen to his hostess's discontent. He's forgotten his cards and has worn the wrong suit when she specifically requested red. And oh yes, the young lady who did remember her cards is just waiting for the storm to blow over in order to make her escape from this normally tidy, quiet place. She's not quite sure she understands the game and might actually have accepted the wrong invitation. But she is not holding all the cards, so she must simply wait for wisdom to arrive again.
Mary once revealed to me that when she gets stuck for an idea, she puts another person in the painting. This is called, my version is called.
Not in this painting.
Not in this one, one of the crowded ones. A healthy balance. We used to be able to leap so high we nearly flew. Now a man is a miracle who can balance on one foot for 30 seconds. We could walk upright on limbs in the canopy, the tightrope walker's history. It wasn't amazing, it was normal. We learned to balance on the wheel right after it was invented. Then two of us did it together and it was fast and fun. We had necessary adaptive physical prowess then. Now we are so weak we can barely juggle ideas or throw up our hands in despair. We can't walk up a flight of stairs without resting. This is called progress.
Midnight Circus was painted in 2017 and is 36 by 40 inches. He's lost their tent with his incessant dancing, and that's not the worst of it. The precarious bridge, simply made of color, will soon be gone. The ringmaster dances for his pleasure alone, undependable and unconcerned with tradition, and dangerously close to losing the entire circus, and simply firing those who try to intervene. So is it any wonder that the cyclists are approaching him so quietly and are prepared to disappear entirely should their message disappoint? Sadly, there are those who still keep trying to fix at great risk to themselves. The falling man, with more optimism than the rest, has almost caught his hand, and while trying for a safer place, the fellow below tosses balls his way that are strangely empty. Not everyone, however, believes the ringmaster warrants saving. The lady in red raises her hands in mock surrender. This has nothing to do with me. And the tightrope dancer, whose job it is to keep the balance, must continue working, lest all just falls apart, while he, obviously, to all around him, continues his decadent ballet.
And finally, it would be wrong to talk about Ekphrastic art without saying it can go both ways. And so this is a print, correct?
Yes.
That Mary did based on one of my poems. And somebody said, oh, are you going to do a book of those? Well, it takes Mary much longer to do a painting than it does for me to write a poem. Boom. So we probably will not be doing a book of these. And then I conveniently lost the poem that I sent her. So after she did this to my poem, I wrote another poem to this. Okay, good. And then we're done with my poems. This is called Herself, Herself. Herself does not enter the room first, though she is the oldest of the sisters. Her youngest floral sister bears gifts. Her actress sister follows, leaving enough space for dramatic effect. Then her sisters from another marriage, a recluse and one in disguise. Herself enters quietly while cooed pleasantries befog the others. Herself stands compactly as a hitching post, her watch in easy view. She glances at it whenever she thinks no one is looking. Amy and Beth are in the kitchen. Everyone else is Meg, Meg, Meg. The little girls, they were, still peek out from behind Chicago floral wallpaper. Herself will not be a dressmaker's dummy or a paper doll. She will not be modest. She grows up to look you right in the eye.
Okay, this is the piece I wrote about Elizabeth's original poem. Okay, I took a deep breath and gave myself the "you can do this" lecture. As they say, there's always a first, and this definitely was a first for me, making a picture from a poem. Elizabeth's work is so visual, I only read it through twice, and a plethora of images began to emerge. I resisted the temptation to refer again and again to the poem as I worked for fear of getting stuck on the surface beauty. It's the invisible rather than the visible that has always interested me. I started to see it as a story of our social selves, the complicated way we interact with each other, and the nuances of behavior we automatically exhibit. In the print, I see a cloistered room with patterned women and patterned walls like a Vuillard painting. We are surrounded by our rules of behavior and civility, determined by generations of human beings so that we might survive as a species. And in the end, we are rather good at it, or we probably wouldn't be here. That is not to say that one doesn't occasionally long to escape, like the lady who has turned her back to us as toy vehicles come to her rescue, leaving her sisters behind to stand patiently observing the drama. During the 3 months that this image evolved, I learned much from Elizabeth and also from myself, which is the ultimate purpose and fascination of creating art. The end. Thank you.
Mary is too modest to mention this is her most popular print for sale.
Pardon?
Mary and Elizabeth, can I ask, how did you lose the original poem?
How do you what?
I'm just curious, how the original
Yeah, the original poem, you didn't read that.
I don't have it. I don't know what it's called.
Oh, I know what it's called.
I'm not a good record keeper.
Oh, it's called Champagne Brunch.
Change after.
But I don't have it with me.
That's fine. I'm sure it was something like what I read.
It was It was a good poem.
Thank you. It's somewhere. It's somewhere. Anything else? Yes.
Mary, I've looked at your work for many years, and if I were to choose 2 words to describe themes
Oh,
that I
okay.
see very often in your work, including these, I would choose the words isolation and alienation.
Oh.
How do you respond to that?
I don't know. I really don't know. Probably it does. It sounds like a good comment about my work. I guess it is, but I've been doing this for so long. It's hard to sort of reduce it to a few words. But anyway, thank you.
I think that's interesting, David, because I don't see it that way at all. But
That's good. I say that because many of your figures don't quite seem to relate in a friendly way.
Oh.
They're distant from one another, even if they're close. So,
I feel like they want to, though.
well,
I feel like they're there and they're ready.
and so, sure.
Interesting.
It's not conscious. I mean, I don't really know how my characters are relating to each other when I do the painting. It's something that comes from a different part of my brain other than the conscious.
Yeah,
So,
too conscious of it
right.
would be stiff and
Yes.
The other thing that makes Mary really easy to work with is that she never goes, I hate this piece you wrote. And that's really important because where's Melody? We know someone who, like, she volunteered to be in an Ekphrastic show and people wrote stuff. And the stuff that they wrote, she was just like freaked out by. And she was very upset by it. And I don't know, we never have had that.
No.
So, thank you.
I think, well, I mean, I like your work.
But I mean, I think it takes a certain amount of moxie to put your stuff out there and say, okay, you write about it.
Yeah, right. Well, I did find it intimidating trying to write about your poetry, though. I mean, because it's on such a different level. It's not on a conscious level. You have to let your brain just absorb it in a certain way.
Mm-hmm. That's why we get along.
Right.
Any other questions? We can let you go. And I'm to remind you that the books are available in the bookstore and also at Kazoo Books.
How did you two come to work together?
Oh, shall I tell this story?
Yes.
We came to work together like this. We were at Arnie Johnson's house for a party, a Christmas party. And somebody said, that's Mary Hatch across the room. And I was like, I love her work. So I went over and I said, you don't know me at all, but can I write about your work? And she said, sure. And then nothing happened. And so the next year at the party, when I saw her again, I said, let's really do that this time. And we did. And so we just started.
I must say that Debbie and I are really pissed off that we're not doing this.
There you go. So, yes, I just rushed into that breach. And so that's how we started doing it.
We're too slow off the mark.
There you go.
So, Elizabeth, have you ever encountered one of Mary's pieces that you did not have a reaction to or that was a puzzle for you?
No. I mean, some of them have been more challenging than others to find the right way in, but no, and I never give up.
Well, poetry isn't logical in a normal way anyway. I mean, you can't interpret a poem in the same way you would interpret a short story, for instance. but it somehow in the end, it comes out having a deeper meaning.
I hope. Okay, thank you all very much for coming.
I'm sorry I must have missed putting that.
That's okay. I think for time we were perfect. Anyway,
Yeah.
do you have a clock? I don't even know what time it is. I think we're right on the button.
It's quarter
We're
of
good, we're
one.
good.
Quarter of one, so.
That was so much fun.
Good.
It was wonderful. Yes.
I'll get you guys the spoons.
For money.
Feel like celebrity.
Yes. Yeah, that was very.
Yeah.